Are there really any true myostatin inhibitors currently on the market? I'm going to let you know after this. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Standing here with my good friend Bruce from Legendary Foods, and they have done it again. Mac and cheese. 47 grams of protein, only 7 net carbs. I can't tell the difference between this and regular. I highly recommend you try this. I love it. Check it out at legendaryfoods.com.
Energy pouches are the wave of the future, and Underrated Muscles Locked In is first to bring it to you. With between 50 and 100 milligrams of caffeine per pouch, you can dial in the quick, clean energy and focus you need on the go. Simple, easy to use. Pop one between your cheek and gum to get you through your day, to get you through your workout. Code RX20, underratedmuscle.com. Get locked in today.
RX Television, RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your weekly question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Whatever you have on your mind, be it bodybuilding, be it non-bodybuilding, diet, training, supplementation, anything and everything going on in and outside of the bodybuilding world. This is your forum to ask Dave whatever you have swirling around in your mind. As we now go to the questions, the first 2 questions on this show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question: when you do PCT or TRT for that matter, do the macros count? Do they need to be reduced from your off-season levels?
You know, I try to not reduce them, and I'll tell you why. Because if you reduce food intake, see, a lot of people think if I'm not on drugs, I don't need as much food. If I don't train, for a day, like if I have an off day, I don't need as much food. And it's not true. You're still breaking down the same muscle, and you're still expending the same energy in the gym. And I always tell people this: anabolic steroids, peptides like growth hormone, IGF, what they do is they make the process work better. They don't allow you to overtrain, okay? They don't allow you to eat more or less food. They make things work better. So when you diet for a competition, they retain muscle better and they make you look harder. When you're off season, they allow you to build muscle, but the process is the same. You still have to go to the gym and stimulate the muscle. You still need to take rest days to recuperate. And you still need to eat the right amount of macros, which would be your certain amount of protein, fat, and carbs to build and repair muscle. So to answer the question, and it's taking a long way to answer it, I would keep everything the same. Now, if you notice you start getting, putting on some body fat, maybe you just don't need as many carbs. But personally, I always kept my calories the same.
Second question, again, these first 2 from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. FOLLISTATIN 344, how to use it? Do you recommend it? Is it a good idea to use? And under what scenarios would you use it?
I get this question so often because people are so enamored with the whole myostatin process. And I guess it's worth, talking about it a little bit. First of all, this FOLLISTATIN product that they're referring to is a synthetic form of the natural FOLLISTATIN that's produced in the body. And theoretically, what FOLLISTATIN does is inhibits myostatin. And what is myostatin? Myostatin is a protein produced in the body that limits muscle growth. So it actually inhibits the body's ability to build muscle. Okay, now why would we have something like that? Well, because the body doesn't want to, during embryological development, the body doesn't want to just grow muscle everywhere. It's not functional. So there's a control mechanism on that. And so if we can somehow limit that control mechanism and limit the myostatin production and or block its effects, which is what FOLLISTATIN can do, theoretically we should build more muscle, or it should be easier to build muscle. The problem is that if you don't have this myostatin inhibition going on 24 hours a day, blocking it for 2 or 3 or 6 hours a day is not going to result in more muscle growth. And so when you're injecting this follistatin, you might inhibit it for a few hours, but around the clock, it's impossible to be taking follistatin, every 2 hours around the clock. And I don't think anyone's going to do it. And I don't even know if it would work if you would do it, because I don't know what the half-life, would a functionality would be. So in theory, it works, but not really. The way we see people with myostatin inhibition exhibit the best benefits would be in people who have no myostatin. So supposedly Flex Wheeler has no myostatin. When he was tested back in the 90s, Victor Conti did some testing on a lot of the athletes. If you've ever seen these Belgian blue, bulls, these cows that don't produce any myostatin, there's a genetic line of them. They look like bodybuilders, these things, because they have no myostatin and they're never inhibiting muscle growth. So they just grow like ridiculously. There's some babies they've shown that had myostatin. They were myostatin negative, and you can see how hypermuscular they were at 1 year of age. So that is a different scenario than injecting something that's going to temporarily inhibit myostatin. And I think there's the bull right there. So it sounds great. I wish we had it available, but there's just nothing out there that currently permanently inhibits myostatin. Maybe some gene CRISPR technology will be able to cleave out the myostatin gene at some point, or maybe we will get a 24-hour, myostatin inhibitor. And at this point, we don't really have it. So I think kind of follistatin is kind of a waste of money in that sense. These 2 questions, by the way, are from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. It's an app you can download from your Android store or your iTunes store. It's $29 a month to get Dave Palumbo as your coach in your back pocket. All my videos, all my writings are on there. I answer everyone's questions in an open forum, so you see everyone's questions and answers. Great learning experience. I do a Q&A video every single week for the app members, so you get an extra Ask Dave. I have all my cycles in there: off-season, pre-contest, beginner, advanced, men, women. I have all my diets in there: the keto diet, the cyclical keto diet, the off-season diets. Everything's in it. It's a very good resource. And a lot of people I know are looking for stocking stuffers or things to buy for their loved ones. This is a great gift, the Dave Palumbo Experience app. And I want to thank you guys out there for supporting it all these years. And it's just constantly growing. And that's why I keep doing it.
Well, before we go to the rest of the questions, our friends at Titan Medical Center wanted you all to know that this week they're promoting and discounting Glow. Now, what is Glow? Glow includes BPC 157, TB 500, KPV, GHK-CU in one shot.
Very good value for your money, because I know everyone wants all the healing modalities. I'm actually the one who talked them into doing this, to be honest with you. And they were trying to do it for a while. And I said, you got to do this. You got to put it all together. It's funny. I asked Charisse over at Titan, I said, why do they call this combination Glow? She's like, I have no idea, but if someone started it, and it's like just a name that they gave to the combination so that everyone uses it. But yeah, so if you're confused about Glow, it doesn't mean anything. It's just like kind of like a name they gave this combination of these 4 different peptides that all help with healing. Of that 4, I think that the BPC 157, in my estimation, is the most potent, but they seem to have a synergism. The TB 500, the copper peptide, they all seem to have add a little bit to it. So, I mean, if you didn't want to do the combination, you can just do the BPC 157. If obviously, if you want to do more, you want to get more bang for your buck, and you want to use a few of them, you can get this combination. It's on sale now, so I advise you check it out. They sent me a bottle. I couldn't open the bottle it came in. It's usually a screw up bottle. You have to you have to squeeze the sides and it pops the cap off. And so you might not be able to get the bottle open, but if you do, it's a great product. Check it out at TitanMedicalCenter.com. Tell them Dave Palumbo, RX Muscle sent you for the discount.
Let's go to the rest of our questions. I've been experimenting with high-dose melatonin based on the promising research showing melatonin to be a powerful antioxidant with many benefits beyond helping with sleep. I use 60 mg per night now. The only drawback, and I wonder if you've heard the same experiences, are the super vivid dreams, which are sometimes full on terrible nightmares. Do you think intense or scary dreams affect sleep quality negatively, or is this a non-issue as long as you're sleeping? And I guess any other experiences you've heard with melatonin causing intense dreams and nightmares?
Sid, I didn't really know what you were going to ask me. because I don't see the questions before. But so, and I was just going to say, I thought he was going to ask me what I thought about high dose melatonin, and I was going to say, when I came back from India, well, when I came back from India, I said, I wanted to try it because I know it's, melatonin resets your biorhythmic clock, and going to India and back, it's 10 hours ahead over there. It's you're all messed up. So I came back and I started doing like he did. I didn't do as much as he did. I never heard of anyone doing 60 milligrams. I did like 20 milligrams a night, which is a lot. Usually, our SUMERDROL sleep aid product has 3 milligrams in it, which is ideal for most people because some people can get a little groggy if you take too much of it. So I did 20 milligrams a night, and I had the most vivid dreams. That's what I was going to say, but mine were really good. I had some, I felt like I was in a movie. So I think sometimes when you have bad dreams, maybe you're going through some stuff in your life that you have to work through. Because I always believe that dreams help you work through, what you're going through in life. Good stuff, bad stuff, and maybe this person has some stress in their life and they're working out in their dreams. But yeah, a lot of people report very vivid dreams. Even on 3 milligrams, you can get very vivid dreams. But it seems to be dose related, so you take more, you get more dreams. Which is good because when you're in that dream state, it's a very restful night's sleep. So even if you're having like nightmares or stuff that's a little scary, it's not affecting the sleep quality. It's just your brain working through items or working through issues that it might have had in life and that you're maybe suppressing. So yeah, it's fine. I never heard anyone use 60 milligrams. That's really high dose, but usually 20 to 30 is the recommended super high dose. But like I said, it seems like melatonin can only do good stuff for your body. But on a regular basis, especially if you don't sleep a lot of, if you're not getting 8 hours of sleep, I would recommend just sticking with the SUMERDROL dosage of. That's why I put put 2 grams of GABA into SUMERDROL, which helps relax you to fall asleep because a lot of people have trouble just falling asleep. And then the melatonin keeps you in a deeper sleep, and there's 3 milligrams of that. So SUMERDROL seems to be perfect on a daily basis. But if you are traveling time zones or maybe you're having trouble sleeping, you could experiment with a little bit of higher dose.
Question about EQ. Does EQ reduce estrogen?
I never noticed that. I've done blood work on it because I know people who have suggested it. Masteron seems to block estrogen receptors. So it doesn't lower estrogen, but it blocks estrogen receptors. So the effects of estrogen are not, you don't see them. You get drier looking on EQ. I know that some people have put it out there. I have not noticed any. I don't believe it has any aromatase activity whatsoever, or anti-aromatase activity, I should say, whatsoever. I don't think it blocks the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. I've never seen it do that. It is a great drug, and it does increase your appetite. I feel you grow really well on it. You get good pumps on it. It's a great drug. Most people love it. It's great off season. It's great even in the beginning of a pre-contest diet. But I don't see any anti-estrogen effects from it.
Wearables. So we had this question a while back, and it was really about Fitbit. This was when it was fashionable just to count steps. Now wearables are a lot more. They track a lot more. I mean, they track sleep, they track other variables, and it's really become nuclear warfare as far as what wearables have to offer.
Yeah.
So you have Apple Watch, obviously, but then you have something called a Whoop Band, Oura Rings. But specific to all this is tracking calories burned, resting heart rate. Do you put much stock into these wearables as far as tracking those measurables? You as a coach and trying to get, statistics from your clients. Do you put much stock into what these wearables will print out?
Right. I have an Apple Watch, so I think that the best part of the Apple Watch is I can see what my heart rate is at any time. Because who the hell wants to have to feel your pulse and count? The heart rate measure is the best part. Now, it also can monitor your heart in case you have any like arrhythmias or irregularities. I don't wear it at night to sleep. I charge it at night. And the reason I don't do that is because I don't want to know any data at night. To be honest, I don't want the thing telling me I didn't sleep enough. Then the whole day I'll think I'm tired. So I'd rather not know. So to me, I don't need my sleep data. I don't think that that's helping me at all. It's just making me more neurotic. During the day, like I said, heart rate variability, like if you ever have like an AFib or anything like that, it can tell you that type of stuff and give you a good readout on it. And blood pressure is tremendous. And at some point, these watches will give you blood sugar. I don't know when they're going to have that real. So far, they can, some of them supposedly do it, but they're not really. accurate. But once they can do blood sugar, I think that'll be amazing. And if anything, like I said, Apple seems to be, number one in everything they do. So I just stick with Apple. Do I believe that the calories burn things? There's no way these things can calculate that accurately because everyone's metabolism is so different. So I'm like a fat burning machine. There's no way this thing is going to calculate how I burn fat, compared to the same guy who's the same height and weight as me. It's using mathematical, variables like heart rate and blood pressure. It's just not an accurate formula. For the average person probably who doesn't work out, who's a couch potato, it probably can accurately predict because they're by the book. But when you're not by the book because your muscle mass is like 10 times what it should be for your body weight and height, it throws it off. So I would not give any credibility to the calorie count or calorie burning or the metabolism, assessing functions of these watches. Just like I wouldn't, pay any attention to when you on the treadmill and it tells you how many calories you burn, because how the heck does a treadmill know? So everyone's bodies and everyone's metabolism functions differently. So once again, heart rate, great. Hopefully blood sugar, they'll get down pretty soon. Those are the best, I think, things that this watch does.
I was just going to ask you about that because, again, the way that blood sugar level right now is accurately read, do you think a watch can replicate that given what you just said about tracking other things using mathematical variables?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think it will be able to eventually because it's an algorithm. And, once the watch figures out how to use, I guess what it does, it has an infrared light under it or some kind of a UV light under the thing, and it shoots down into your blood vessels, and it can change. It can measure how the light is refracted off of the blood vessels. And I think at some point they're going to figure out, probably AI will figure it out, how to get the right mathematical equation to yield an accurate blood sugar assessment. They're close. They're close now. Some of these people have it down pretty good already, but they're still not there yet. But I think within the next 5 years, they're going to have it down, which is going to be amazing because then no one has to stick themselves anymore. And they can just look at their watch and see their blood sugar all day long, which would be great.
Dave, I missed out on your Species Thanksgiving sale. I've been meaning to try STIMULYZE MAX. What would you say is the biggest difference between STIMULYZE MAX and the original version of STIMULYZE?
Well, I can absolutely say that STIMULYZE MAX is the best pre-workout on the market. Okay, we might not have the best marketing behind it. Okay, because marketing sells mostly these pre-workouts, but I can tell you that I spent 2 years developing this thing. Now, a year of that was just getting the flavoring down because these pre-workouts, because the ingredients in here taste so terrible that you have to really tweak the flavoring system without putting sugar in there, obviously, because it's carb-free and calorie-free. We have to be very careful on how to tweak the flavors to try to get and hide those terrible tastes. So it tastes great. We have 2 great flavors, wild berry and cotton candy. It's over here. Yeah, here we go. And we have a lot more citrulline in here, which is going to give you those pumps, a lot more beta alanine in here than we did before, which is going to account for the endurance, and the nootropic formula in here, which is the caffeine with the other ingredients that give you that brain focus, are tweaked perfectly. I'm telling you, when you take this product, and I sip it throughout the day. Some people will, down it all in one shot. I think it's a little intense when you do that, but if you sip it during your workout and maybe starting 15, 20 minutes before your workout, you'll legitimately feel like you're on an antidepressant. Your mood will be elevated so severely. You'll be in such a good mood. You'll be talking up a storm with people because you're just going to feel good. And when you feel good, you want to go to the gym and you want to work out. So a lot of people's problem with working out is lack of motivation. They're depressed. They don't feel good. They don't want to get out of the house and go. You do this, you're going to be like, I can't wait to get to the gym. And I think that's of pre-workouts, I believe, unfortunately, that's really what people want, right? They want that motivation to work out. They want to feel like, I have so much energy, I can go do anything. Even though the pump version of this product and the endurance, version of part of this formula are probably the most important, right? Because you want to get a pump in the gym and you want to be able to train longer and harder. But the brain, I think, is the number one reason why bodybuilders succeed or fail. So if you feel good and you feel good in the gym, and you feel good about yourself, you're going to have a great workout. So give it a shot. If you haven't tried it, We might have a Christmas sale on it, or maybe even an NPC national sale. I haven't decided yet, but check it out at speciesnutrition.com. STIMULYZE MAX, 2 flavors. You'll love it.
Simple yet loaded question. Your thoughts on bioregulators?
Bioregulate in what sense are they asking that? I don't really know.
That was it. So really no context added. So
Bioregulation
how about this? If you ask that
It's
question,
a very
come
broad
back next
term.
week,
Yeah.
and let's add a little bit more context as far as
clarify.
There's like the whole meme. There's a whole meme right now. Like somebody will just post something randomly and be like, extra context needed or whatever. But let's go to the next
Well, yeah,
one.
it's like what do you think about biohackers? Biohackers
Yeah.
is another like term, like, yeah, well, what about them? What are they hacking? Tell me what you want me to, give me a specific, topic on that.
So you're not a biohacking specialist.
No. I probably was the original biohacker, and I just never called it that. That's all.
But you didn't put it on your IG bio, so it doesn't count.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to give myself any degrees that I haven't earned.
Let's go to the next one. This one about SUPERDROL. How long should you go on and off injectable SUPERDROL?
Yeah, I'm not a big advocate of this drug because it's very toxic. But if you're going to use it, I would say 4 weeks max, and then at least 4 to 6 weeks off of it.
Question about blood pressure medication. Is blood pressure medication necessary on cycle even if your blood pressure is in a normal range?
No, you don't need to take it if you're normal. I mean, like I said, it's what I've noticed is that young guys, even if they're, overweight, even if they're, on a ton of drugs, a lot of times their blood pressure is completely normal. And the reason is because young people have very elastic blood vessels, meaning that if there's a lot of stress on the vessels, they just dilate. They're pliable. They move better. As we get older, the blood vessel walls become stiffer. Okay, because the connective tissue as you get older, it just gets worse. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like one people's skin sag when they get old. So as you get a little older, when you hit like your 35, 36, all of a sudden now doing the same thing you did in your 20s, you're doing in your 30s, and you have high blood pressure. What happened? Well, the blood vessel walls lost their elasticity. They're not able to accommodate, the heavy weights and that you're carrying around, and you start running high blood pressures, and that's when it can be dangerous because that's put stress on the kidneys. So the key is take your blood pressure. You don't have to take it 10 times a day, but every 2 weeks, I would check your blood pressure, make sure it's doing well. Once a week if you're neurotic. And if you start noticing that your blood pressures are running high, which would be like, in the 130s over like 85, start creeping up towards 90, that's a little high. And in that case, I would probably start a mild ACE inhibitor like a ramipril, lisinopril. Very safe, no side effects, just get your blood pressure down into that normal range. But if you're 120 over 80 and below that routinely, I wouldn't touch it, because if you take a blood pressure medication, you're going to go low and you're going to feel terrible. You're going to feel lightheaded when you get up, and there's no reason to do that. So it's not one of these things you have to take. It's, do you need it? If you need it, don't be afraid to take it. But if you don't need it, you don't have to take it. You shouldn't take it.
I wanted to ask you about creatine, only because right now there just seems to be so much information and misinformation all over the internet. I've heard everything from it'll cause hair loss, it'll impact kidney function. But then I've also heard as far as dosing 5 mg versus 10 plus, helping with mental cognition. I feel like the information for creatine in general is all over the place. If you can help clarify what's truth and what's fiction for creatine.
Right. Yeah, we make a creatine called Creatine. It's a ultra micronized creatine. And I've talked about this before. The problem about creatine is, will it get absorbed into the bloodstream? And that has a lot to do with its solubility. And solubility means, can the creatine mix in water and go into solution? Meaning that when you mix it, does it disappear? Or does it just lay at the bottom of the cup? And the more you pulverize the creatine molecule, the creatine monohydrate molecule, the easier it is to get into solution. So we have an ultra micronized, which means ultra. It's almost like baby powder. So when you mix it, it just dissolves better. And if it dissolves better, you absorb it better. Now, what's the right dosage? Well, I find that I don't believe in the whole loading phase. You don't need it. A lot of it gets wasted when you do that. I believe like 5 milligrams a day, 5 grams a day is adequate. And if you do that regularly, you're going to build up your creatine levels till they're maxed out in the blood, in the muscle cells, and you're going to get the max benefits, which is the volumization in the muscle cell, right? The muscle cells feel more pumped, and the endurance aspect, because creatine, when it goes into the muscle cells, converts to creatine phosphate, which then buffers ATP. So when ATP, which is the fuel source of the cell, gets used up, it gets converted into ADP, and then creatine phosphate regenerates it into ATP. So you get better energy production in the cells. So creatine's been a tried and true supplement since the 90s. And the reason it's still around and still so popular is because it works. Let's face it. But what's the right dosage? Does it cause hair loss? I don't think it causes hair loss. Has there been a study that maybe suggests it? Probably, because you can prove anything on a study. Probably everyone who was in the study was doing anabolic steroids too, and that's why they were losing the hair. It wasn't the creatine. But putting that aside, I don't see a cause and effect. Hey, he took creatine, lost his hair. Not happening. So that you can dismiss that from your head. Will it affect kidney function? Well, it can artificially make it look like your creatinine, which is the waste product, in your bloodstream is higher. Because when you take creatine, a certain amount gets converted to creatinine. So it could artificially make it look like your kidneys are not working properly. So if you go and get blood work done and you have a high creatinine level, my suggestion is stop the creatine for 2 weeks, get retested. If it's normal after that, then you know that it was just the creatine you were taking. Or you might want to stop it for a few days before you get blood work, just to make sure that it doesn't artificially, give you a false, positive. If you have kidney problems, okay, I wouldn't take creatine because that's just going to put more stress on the kidneys to break it down. Cognition is a new thing with creatine. There's a lot of research to suggest that taking creatine can help with mental, focus, which makes sense because let's face it, all the cells in our bodies use creatine. Once again, to buffer ATP. I just mentioned it. Now, for bodybuilders, we're more interested in how creatine affects the muscle cells. But as far as brain function goes, same thing. These neurons, these brain cells use, ATP for fuel also, and they get buffered by creatine. So obviously having more creatine available is going to allow the neurons to fire longer and be more efficient. The question is, some of the research has been done on very high dose creatine. I don't think that that's necessary. I think once again, these are short-term studies they do. So they find that it's dose related, of course, because when you load someone for a week on high dose creatine, it's going to load into the muscles faster. If they're already loaded with creatine, or if it takes an extra 2 or 3 weeks to load them up, you're going to get the same results. So I believe that the 5-gram dose of creatine is just as effective as 20, 30 grams of creatine a day, which is going to obviously put a tremendous strain on your body to give you the same cognition effects. So I don't think you have to go crazy high on the dose. If you take your 5 grams a day, which is reasonable, you can throw it in your post-workout shake. You can drink it in the morning and just in some water or some juice if you want to. I just throw it in a post-workout shake. You're going to get all the benefits that you want from it. That's muscle endurance, muscle pumps because of the volumization effect, and cognition. And I think that, once again, just stop taking it maybe a week before your blood work so that it doesn't skew your kidney function tests.
Take a couple more questions. Donating blood. For a bodybuilder, how important is it to donate blood a couple of times a year, or is there a sweet spot for how many times a bodybuilder should donate blood in a given year?
If I was in my 20s and my red blood cells, hemoglobin, hematocrit were high, because that's what happens when you take anabolic steroids, right? But my iron levels were normal and everything else was fine, I would not donate any blood, because I would say, you know what, this extra blood gives you better oxygen carrying capacity, and you're going to perform better in the gym, better pumps. If I was in my 40s, okay, or my 50s like I am, and my red blood cells, hemoglobin, hematocrit are high, I'm going to go donate a pint of blood every, 60 to 90 days, depending on how high my hemoglobin hematocrit is. The good thing is, if you go to these blood donation places, they finger prick you and they test your hemoglobin hematocrit in 2 seconds, and they'll tell you what it is. And if it's not high enough, if it's not over 16, usually they don't recommend you donate blood. If it's over a certain amount, then no big deal. So that's what I suggest you do. You do it on a personal basis. Now, why, as you get older, would I recommend donating blood? Because, once again, the blood vessels are not as pliable. People who are older are more prone to getting clots, and just having high red blood cells doesn't mean you're more prone to get a clot. Okay, because your platelets, as long as your platelets are not crazy elevated, which doesn't happen from anabolics. Matter of fact, most people on anabolics have lower platelets, and I don't know if if that just happens because the body knows more red blood cells, we got to produce less platelets, so there's less clotting chance, or it's just a coincidence. I'm not sure, but I always had low platelets my whole life, and so that's good because I don't clot very easily, but high red blood cells, like I said, if you have a clotting disorder in your family, or you're concerned because of certain viruses that are out there and vaccines, and you might want to just donate on a regular basis. But if you're young, you probably don't need to. Once again, it's a personal choice. I wouldn't just knee-jerk, donate unless you're high, and how high? Look, I see guys with hemoglobin's like over 20. I mean, that's high. I mean, those people probably should go donate a pint of blood. But if you're 17, 18, even though that's high, it's not like super high. I probably would just leave it alone. Every time you donate, your body's going to, bounce back and try to produce more red blood cells. So you're going to get a rebound effect. You give blood, now your body wants to produce more red blood cells. Sometimes your red blood cells go higher, but it could take a month or two before it gets that high. So I'm in kind of a routine now where every 2 months I go in and I donate a pint of blood if my RBCs are high. If they're not, I don't do it. And you can do that, but like I said, us old guys have to be a little more cautious than you young guys.
We'll take one more, and obviously you do get a lot of questions as far as what it takes to become a coach, a bodybuilding coach. But there are other ways as far as being a trainer, as far as obtaining the knowledge to be able to help aspiring bodybuilders. So, what are some of your background, degrees, or certifications in personal trainings that you would recommend? Any online courses for physical therapy, health science that's beneficial for future and exercise health, etc. What have you generally recommended to those looking to get into the field, maybe as a coach or maybe as a personal trainer in some capacity?
Well, if you want to be a personal trainer, you probably need to, get certified, obviously, by one of the, nationally accredited organizations, AC, the American College of Sports Medicine, or ACE. There's a few out there that are, pretty much standard hat. They want you to get accredited by. I actually have my own personal training certification course I've been giving for 25 years online now. Smart Training. I have a lot of guys and girls that sign up for that because they can do it at their leisure online. I give them the certificate, and because I've been around so long, most gyms do accept it. So that's something you can do it if you want to be a personal trainer. If you are a personal trainer, you should really get insurance too, which is not really expensive, just for safety purposes. So you should have an accreditation, and you should have a certificate. Now, if you want to be like a bodybuilding coach where you get people ready for competitions, there's really no accreditation for that. But and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this almost 30 years. My secrets to becoming a diet guru coaching program is second to none out there. There's nothing else like it out there. And it goes over everything from diet, supplementation, drugs, protocols. It covers everything. It's an 8-hour course that I used to teach in person. Then after COVID, it kind of went online. And I haven't done it live for probably a year now, but you can go and watch the other courses that are recorded on this. The good thing about that is you can kind of start and stop. You don't have to watch it all in one thing. You can go back and rewatch it. And it's very popular. I have a lot of people sign up for it all the time, and especially coaches. It's good to keep watching this at least once a year to keep this information fresh in your head. If you take this course and study it, I promise you technically will be able to coach people as well as anyone out there. Probably better because you're going to have a bigger knowledge base. The only thing you need to accumulate after taking this course would be experience. Experience can only be gathered through doing it. So now you have to start coaching people, whether you start for free with a couple of your friends and prove yourself, or some people from the gym. I always tell people, just start coaching people. You don't have to make any money initially. Once you get that experience down, people start to see the results you're getting as a coach. They're going to hire you because word of mouth is your best advertisement. And then if you want to do, promotional stuff on your Instagram and YouTube channel, that's fine. But get the knowledge first, like I said, go to DavePalumbo.com. You can click on the Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course, and you can sign up and watch one of the ones that already, the last one I gave. When you do that, I'll send you a 100-page Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru manual that has every protocol I've ever put together in there, from drug cycles to diets to everything, supplement. There's so much reading material in there and great information, all compiled into one book that you'll be blown away by it. Once you got that knowledge and you keep studying it, start coaching people. And I promise you, if you dedicate yourself to coaching people and you're good at what you do and you keep learning and keep following it, and the learning process never stops. That's why the Dave Palumbo Experience app is so also important, because you're constantly learning new stuff beyond what I already published. You're going to be a great coach and you're going to make over 6 figures a year. I can promise you that. So once again, it depends on how much you want it or how badly you want it, but education is number one and experience is number two.
And that's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. If you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. We have all new episodes of the After Hours podcast, as well as Monday's episode of Heavy Muscle Radio with Dave Palumbo and Chris Aceto. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.